Good day, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends. Welcome to yet another session of EU Business Talks. Pleased to see so many familiar faces once again. Thank you for joining us. Today, I have the honor to present you another guest of honor, Mr. Hugh Arrigo, Director of Attard Co Group from Leta, Malta. Hugh, good day and most welcome.
Afternoon to you and good afternoon to everybody. Thanks very much, Attard.
Pleasure. Thank you, Hugh, for your time. Thank you for joining us. Dear friends, let me read a little bit about Hugh's background, just so we know who do we have today. Hugh is coming from Leta, Malta, Director of Attard Co Group Ltd. The company is private family-run business established, be careful now, 100 years ago. Congratulations for that. And having more than 200 employees today. It operates mainly in the food and wine industry, logistics, forensic equipment and solution, financial advisory consultation, building materials, energy efficiency equipment, etc. In particular, Hugh Arrigo has been with the family business for the past 35 years. He has served on many boards, and most recently he was elected as the Vice President of Malta Chamber. He is active within Libya-Malta Chamber of Commerce. He is also a founder member of Malta-China Chamber of Commerce. There you go, dear friends. Now you know a little bit more about Hugh. The rest you will learn between next 15 minutes or so. And as usual, the second half, we will let you in and you will ask all your questions to Hugh. Well, Hugh, once again, most welcome. You are based in Leta. I assume you are now in Leta. So the first question, obvious, what's the weather over there? What's the temperature?
Well, it's raining as usual. It's very, very hot, Attard. Very hot. It's very warm. And we're in the peak of summer now. We're nearing the peak of summer.
Okay. Well, Hugh, as you know, we have a light motive EU, European Union. So my first obvious question for you, I mean, Malta is part of EU, obviously. So my first question to you, since you are representing a family business, and this kind of businesses represents important share within EU economies, what is your say on its future development of family businesses? Is EU putting enough emphasis on this type of businesses, Hugh?
Okay, so first and foremost, thank you very much, Attard. I feel that maybe many of us know, I would imagine there are some European referees in present in the Zoom call this afternoon. I was explaining to some colleagues of mine, the family businesses are very, very important indeed. 80%, I'll give an example. In Italy, we have an example, the best example I can give you is Italy. 80% of Italy's GDP comes from family businesses. 43% of Germany's GDP comes from family businesses. And indeed, this is the best form, the best example I can give you, how important and how vital it is that family businesses are passed on from one generation to another. And I'm not quite sure whether this importance is being recognized. We are, as Anta mentioned, we are 200 employees. There are only 4 family members here. The rest are all aliens. And I would imagine the same applies to many of the businesses in other states. So I would say that it is very, very vital that family businesses are given the opportunity to continue to survive, continue to trade. And this is the way I see it anyway, Anta.
Okay. I mean, dear friends, now you heard 43% of EU GDP is made out of family businesses. Can you imagine that? We are not thinking about it so much.
43% of Germany's GDP, 80% of Italy's GDP.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hugh, in general, how do you see current economic shape of the EU as such? Is it fair to say that we are doing fine, or we could do even better, considering that many global economies are taking us over on right and left lane? What is your say on that?
Interesting. I think we have to look at it and we have to look at ourselves in the mirror. We have to realize that there is competition encroaching and things are changing and developing very, very rapidly, possibly much faster than we wish so. If we look back and we look at today, the EU, and we look at the EU tomorrow, I would say over the 50 years, the EU has accomplished much. And it is definitely one of the major players in the world economy. If we look at ourselves today, we would realize that one significant change that has come about in the EU happened 6 months ago. I would say it's the most significant change in the last 50 years. I'm referring to Brexit. I'm only referring to Brexit because I feel that we must not have a repeat of what has happened with Britain. Britain contributed as much as 18 countries in the EU. And there is no doubt about it that with a population of 70 million, we have made ourselves smaller. Now, I'm not saying that I wanted the British it's a matter of us weakening ourselves. The British have weakened themselves and we have weakened ourselves. It's very important that no other states leave or decide or determine it's better to leave the EU. And this is where I'm fearing. If you look at, let's put it this way, the best example I can give you is there was a study from PwC, and PwC looked at the 10 major economies in the world today. The 10 major economies of the world today hold 4 European states. You've got Germany, France, Italy, and you've got the UK, at least up to 6 months ago. It's forecast by PwC that in a few years' time, France and Italy will be edged out. And the new states that will come in, top 10 countries of the world, will be Mexico and Indonesia. So I'm asking, are we looking around and are we realizing that other states and other economies are coming along rather rapidly, rather discreetly? So it is a matter of fact that whereas today we have 3 or 4 European countries in the top 10, in the future, we already know that there will only be Germany from the European Union. If our nations are not strong, then the economy of the European Union obviously is going to shrink as well.
It's a very good point indeed, Hugh. If your neighbor is doing well, most probably you are going well as well. Maybe we should learn that point even harder in the future. But before I go to the level of your company, may I ask you, I mean, you are, Malta, of course, is a EU member. If Wikipedia taught me right, you are a 500,000 country. How would you represent your country in a couple of sentences and your economy in particular to somebody who might not be so familiar with it?
Fine. I mean, basically, we're geographically, we're at the center of the Mediterranean. We're bridging between Africa and Europe. A population of 500,000. Basically, the economy is basically based on tourism, some manufacturing, pharmaceutical, generics, testing of generics, aviation, financial services, registration of ships and planes. So basically, we are in quite a number of services. A small economy, that's $15 billion, a small economy, but certainly I would say very vital because we are geographically, we play a very important position. We are linked between Europe and Africa. We are the stepping stone or the gateway to Africa. In fact, the President of the European Union mentioned this some time back, and she commented Malta being the gateway to Africa, which takes me to another point, that there are many opportunities which we could jointly pursue with larger territories for business into Africa.
Okay. Great. So going now to the level of your company, Attard Group Ltd. I mean, just to once again congratulate you for 100th birthday of your company. I mean, it's a great number by itself. What's the secret to achieve it? How do you achieve this great number? Can you share with us?
Well, you can see my white hair. I'm an old man now, but. I think the secret is tolerance. I think the secret is employing the right people. I think the secret is that you can't have family members who are a burden on the organization. The secret is to have people who can contribute better than the family members. Out of the 220 employees we have, there are only 4 family members. I remember meeting with an Italian chap, and he told me the in-laws, the husbands and the wives of the children are not allowed in. And I told him, but if the children, the wives and the husbands of your children are better than your children, why don't you employ them? So I think you have to be very open. You have to be very tolerant. You have to be patient. I mean, obviously there are difficulties which are sometimes very difficult to overcome. We have recently engaged one of the large audit firms who have guided us very, very well. And there is a restructuring process going on. But the secret for success for 100 years, I would say, is that you have to always be on tiptoe. You can't compensate a family member who has not contributed like the other family member. And these are unfortunately episodes which bring about family feuds.
Okay.
There is also accountability. There is also responsibility. You cannot share the responsibility. Each individual has to be responsible for one division, for one section, for one service. And then at the end of the year or at the end of the month, one can evaluate the performance of each section.
It sounds very simple, but I'm sure it isn't. I mean, it's all about people, for sure. But my personal curiosity, Hugh, I mean, what kind of birthday cake you get for 100 years? Can you share with that?
Well, that's an interesting question. I mean, unfortunately, this is the pandemic, and we would have liked to celebrate this in a much wider style. What we are seeing is there's a bright future. We have created a number of different companies, subsidiary companies, in partnership with many of our own employees. We have identified the right candidates. We have given them a shareholding. We have identified that they have attributes which the family members do not have. We have gone into a number of different divisions. I mean, originally the company started off by representing Aqua-Gevet. Everyone knows the photo industry, Aqua-Gevet. But as time progressed, Aqua-Gevet went into so many services, from X-ray to medical to dental film, to photocopiers, to microfilming, to printing presses, to photo labs, to printing presses. So automatically, Attard found itself into many, many different services, into many, many different industries.
So sorry to interrupt you, Hugh, but this is in particular I wanted to ask you, because in our invite that I've shared with participants, you're active in, to be honest, in very wide portfolio of sectors, activities. Is my understanding correct? You are acting as in between trading company, buying these product services and selling them locally and internationally. Is that correct?
Well, no, I mean, when we had the debate to join the European Union, I realized that unless we are going to steer the ship for the company to a different direction, we would have failed. I must be the most prepared person on the EU. I have said I was a lobbyist for Malta to join the European Union, but I was also aware that importation would be given a big blow because of parallel importation. You know that one cannot be an exclusive agent for products. We have one big line, which is the food line, where we are major importers and distributors of the food industry, cold meats, everything you can imagine. We must be the third or the fourth largest food importer. However, I also felt very, very important. It was very important that we redirect the company towards services. And today we have about 8 different companies with different shareholders, with different interests, specific interests, targeting the medical and the scientific lines. In Malta, there are a number of large generic manufacturers, and where they carry out tests on generics. We are major suppliers of all the hardware, the software. We lay out labs, we design the labs, we install the machinery, we calibrate the machinery, we certify the machinery. It's a very, very sophisticated line as well. We also do another company which is taking care of security. So anything from border control, document verification for fraud, things like gates at the airport, automatic fingerprint identification system, biometric. We're into that field as well. We're also into the logistics. We have a company dedicated to logistics. We also have a company that we have our own bonded warehouses. We do what is known as SMI, supplier managed inventory. All the goods come into our warehouses, and every 8 hours we dispatch enough goods for 8-hour production for sophisticated microchip factories. We also have a company relative to renewable energy, energy audits. We're looking at smart cooling. So these are all different activities. We have
very impressive, Hugh. And you call yourself a family business. Yeah. If I wouldn't believe you, I would say you are a multinational.
What is interesting, Ante, is that I'm collating a lot of data, documents which are 100 years old. We are still dealing with the same companies today. We are still dealing with the same companies from Holland and from Belgium till today. So I think it is, a matter of building up a relationship. You have to instill a relationship with your supplier, with your client, with your employee. It has to be, I tell them, embrace your job, embrace with a passion.
Very well said, Hugh. Now, besides European markets, I've shared with the participants that you are also are you a founding member of Malta China Chamber of Commerce, and you are also active within the Libya Malta Chamber of Commerce. What are you doing with these two countries in particular?
With China, before when I was talking about the top 10 countries, which would be earmarked for the 2050, obviously the PwC report goes on to say that China will be number one. We all know. But and we know that America will be number two, or is number two. But the big question that is being asked by PwC, and this is where the European Union has to listen, the big question is asked is, how big a gap is there going to be between number one and number two? How big a gap? Now, I am very much in favor of, and I understand the European understanding, and I'm in favor. Obviously, we have our culture, we have our understanding, freedom of speech, we know the Muslims, we know Hong Kong. I find it very difficult, though, that we can close our eyes to the superpower of superpowers. It's a matter of fact. We can't deny it. I would say that we have to take a stance where we have to be critical of certain instances, but maintain the business with China. You cannot close your eyes to a major economy like that. And it's growing very, very fast. Going back to the PwC, the question is, how big is the difference going to be? And this takes me to the EU. With Brexit, we have weakened ourselves. We have weakened ourselves in a big time. And I'm not saying this, we have to find a way that this does not repeat itself. Because if you look at what is in the pipeline now, they're talking about the Pacific Agreement, and there is already information or being built up. They will command 20% when it is fully operational, 20% of the world GDP. The EU commands 14.5% of the world GDP. So, it's like putting on the TV, watching the Grand Prix, finding out that they've already gone into 30 laps. You think car number one is first, but in actual fact, car number two, 20 meters behind, is already done one full lap short of 20 meters. Are we realizing that the other competition, the other economies are moving at a very, very fast pace? Sometimes I feel we're living, resting on our laurels. We are indulging in gluttony. We're spending money. Iceland wants to go to a 4.5-day week. What are we talking about? Of course, we're in favor of human rights. And you can't. We're going to shrink. We're going to go lower down. Other economies are moving so rapidly. We just seem to be, as they say in Italian, siamo ubriachi. We seem to be drunk. And this kind of,
very interesting points, Hugh. Yeah, it's always better to cooperate than to exclude. There you go, dear friends. Now you know a little bit more about Hugh, about his company, about his family business, about his country, his view on European Union as such. And within this second part, last 10 minutes or so, Hugh, I will focus on the chat box, if you allow me, and I will take my questions from over there and share it with all of us. So first of all, first question that I see, this must not be a surprise, I guess, from France, asking about mandatory vaccination to enter Malta. What is the impact on Maltese economy? Hugh.
I'm sorry, I didn't get the question again. It dropped.
It is about mandatory vaccination to enter the country. Impact on your economy.
Well, I mean, the COVID has impacted every country. We know this. It is a matter of fact. Unfortunately, initially, first of all, we had zero COVID up to 3 weeks ago. When we opened the gates to tourism, unfortunately, some people who were not vaccinated visited Malta, and we had, today I think we have 17 cases in hospital, which is still very, very controllable. Immediate measures were taken by the Ministry of Health to reverse, and only people who are, well, we're looking at having only people who are vaccinated to enter the island. Maybe on this issue, I mean, I think we are changing, like every other country, we are changing the rules practically by the week, unfortunately. But it is now under control again. We had zero cases up till about a month ago, and when we opened the doors to tourism, unfortunately, there was a lifting up of numbers.
It is happening everywhere where the tourist countries are involved, for sure. Thank you very much. The next one I see is from France, Martin. Hi, Martin. Great to be with us again. Okay, it's not a question. You just are wishing us a great EU business talks. Thank you very much, Martin. Hugh, Martin is from France. Are you working anything with France, by the way?
Well, there is one particular company where there is, we have the automatic fingerprint system, and this is in partnership with sedežem. sedežem is a very large company from France. It's obviously, I believe it's 30% owned by the government of France. So yes, we have one relationship with one very large company.
What about, again, Martin is asking, do you work with Africa? If so, with which countries? So Libya, you already said yes, but which are other African countries you are involved in?
We do business in the Sub-Sahara, Ghana, Ethiopia, Eritrea. We've set up labs, we've installed equipment there, we've certified the equipment. About a year ago, the Maltese government launched this gateway to Africa, and there were about 1,000 distinguished guests. And I took the liberty to bring over some of the consuls to our offices. And it's good for you that you asked this question. The consuls, the honorary consuls from some of these countries asked us, we would like to do business with Europe, but we prefer to do business with a small state because we feel dwarfed by a bigger state. Now, we can't provide everything, but it would be interesting if we can come together with the largest countries and be the buffer. They would run. We are part of the European Union. They feel comfortable dealing with a small state, and we could rely or relay or broker the services with the French, with the Germans, with the Portuguese, the Spanish, whoever.
Okay, thank you very much. The next one, Berislav is with us from Zagreb, Croatia. How do you see opportunities between Croatia and Malta? I believe there are not very strong trade exchange developed so far. Hugh, are you working anything with Croatia?
Well, I mean, no, we don't do business. It's strange. We do business with so many countries in the world. I was recently looking at the correspondence, the past correspondence. I even found correspondence from Pakistan, auguring us success on our independence 50 years ago. But no, we don't do business with Croatia, but I would say there's an opportunity for us to explore and to develop this. I mean, you know, I believe as well that one of the things that brings about trade is when there are direct links, direct air links. We had no trade with Spain, and the moment direct air links were formed, business grew. I don't think we have direct links with Croatia at the moment, not to my knowledge anyway.
The next question is about wine, Hugh. So you are in wine business as well. France is asking, are you importing wine from Slovenia already?
I don't think we import wine for Slovenia. You know, there is such a vast compendium of businesses. I'm not really responsible for the wine and business, but I don't think we import from Slovenia. But we import wine from 50 different wineries around the world. Australia,
50, you mean?
Australia, New Zealand, San Francisco, South Africa, Italy, Sardinia, Sicily, France. We import from everywhere. So we would welcome the chance to engage with wine coming from any part of the world.
Okay. The next one is about how do you see or how do you estimate business opportunities in Libya? Is it fair to say, Hugh, that whatever we see on CNN, BBC does not reflect the reality which exists in Tripoli or Libya as such?
And if I would like to stimulate and throw fire into these debates. You know, if we are going to all the time commend, and I told you I'm the EU lobbyist, if we're going to commend the European Union all the time, it would be a futile exercise for us to sit down and talk together every Tuesday. We have to be critical of ourselves, and this is what I'm trying to get at. And I have to say that has been very disappointing that we've had states supporting Benghazi government, states supporting the Tripoli government. We can't get our act together. It's been dragging on for too long. There are great opportunities. The country has a lot of wealth. There's the oil and gas, solar farms, infrastructure, airport, hospital, medical services, education. Unless we sit down and say we want to take this stand, other countries like Turkey are encroaching, are moving in. They're already much stronger than us. Traditionally, Italy, France, England, Germany have always had a lot of business there. We don't seem to. Now we seem to be going as a stronger force on our own. But you know, we've been weakened. And Libya has always supported and agreed to European support. I believe I had read once that the biggest client of Germany worldwide was Libya. A population of 5 million, vast territories, great opportunities. And these people are battling. And what comes about is also migration. We're not tackling the peace sector. You know, there's this vulnerability, all these immigrants coming in. This is tied up to security, to stability, to peace, and to business. We have to take a firmer stand. I'm sorry, I mean, and this is what the debate I want to stimulate.
Yeah, I know. You are making the right points. However, I'm watching the watch here, and we are entering our last 2 minutes, Hugh. And I still have at least 3 questions to ask you.
Sure.
I mean, in a very, very short fashion, Hugh. Before Sula is with us from Accra, Ghana, and before you mentioned that you are doing business with Ghana. What in particular you are doing in Ghana or West Africa?
We've set up a lab with one of the larger participants or players in Ghana, for who is listening to us, as a company called Ernest Chemists, and we are the suppliers, and we're supporting them with labs to meet EU GMP standards. Okay, and the last one is from Vinayak from India. He's wondering, do you see any business opportunities with India? You did not mention India today. We do business with India. I've been there a number of times. Great people, great place. I've taken my wife on holiday there, and we do business. There's a company called Technova who take care of printing equipment and printing consumables for the printing presses. Okay. In Mumbai. The next one is from Maya. Maya is asking that or saying that you are also in logistics business. What kind of logistics tools do you use? Oh, logistics, we have our own bonded warehouses. We also, our specialty has always been Libya, the oil and gas. We also issue out certificates of origin. We also have what is known as SMI, a service which is supplier managed inventory. Goods come into our warehouses, and every 8 hours we dispatch enough goods for 8-hour production from our bonded warehouse. Okay. There you go, dear friends. It's 30 minutes past the hour. It was very short, quick, and unique and efficient, Hugh. I thank you for your input. Thank you for being my guests. Before we go off the line, Hugh, I give you 20 seconds for your last thoughts to share with all of us. So, number one, I would like to thank you and thank the Slovenian Chamber. I'd like to compliment you on your achievement as the presidency of the EU. And I think it would be very beneficial if we had to offer our condolences to the French, the Germans, and the Dutch on the loss of the people in the floods. I also would like to highlight, going back to Attard, that will be open to any business opportunities, mergers, acquisitions, or partnerships. So we'll be very keen to pursue this. Thank you very much. Thank you again, Hugh. Thank you, dear participants. I will be sharing you a nice follow-up email with contacts of Hugh tonight. And also tonight you will be receiving invite for the next session next Tuesday, when my guests will be Rumeni Leo from Bulgaria. Thank you very much for today. See you next week, the same time, same place. Bye-bye. Take care.